Hi, my name's Owen Pursehouse, and I'm really glad you've got this far in terms of your inquiries about MENDS. I am a clinical and forensic psychologist by profession, but why I'm talking to you today is as the chief architect, designer and assessor of a program called MENDS. MENDS is an acronym for Men Exploring New Directional Strategies and was specifically designed for men going through separation, divorce, or any other life transition or crisis. MENDS has originally and for the last 16 years been running as a face-to-face group program with groups of men, usually between 8 and 12. It became really critical during COVID that we continued investigating the possibility and designing something that would work in the cyber world. So this is the result of those planning and just understanding how that's going to work for you now that we can't get you in the same room as the other men. What we've found over the years is there's an enormous array of reasons why people end up joining the MENDS program. Most typically, there's been some triggering event which has created a crisis in somebody's life, most often the obvious nature of divorce and separation and dislocation that occurs in those circumstances, the pain and the lack of coping. So people have come through all sorts of channels. They've found the program themselves. They've been referred by solicitors or even financial people or friends or family members. We received a number of inquiries by women, mothers, sisters, and even exes of men who note that they're not coping. So they come with all sorts of concerns and fears and expectations. But what we've found is the group program is well designed to contain those fears and concerns, then to upskill in critical areas. There's a very specific purpose-designed healing pathway that MENDS adopts, which in the end provides a structured and supported framework to audit your life thoroughly, to reconnect with yourself and children if you have them, and certainly with others in a way that is pro-social and positive and minimises the costs, the financial costs, the emotional costs, the relationship costs that typically occur when men isolate themselves during these difficult phases of their life. I've taken a very personal view and professional involvement with the outcomes of the program. I also have been personally through a separation divorce and understood, even though I knew the theory, certainly the emotional difficulties that were encountered during that were not altogether predicted. So we've measured changes. Pretty soon you'll be asked, if you decide to go ahead, asked to do an instrument called the PAS, the PAS, and in that we document baseline measures of how you're actually functioning. We do that for two reasons. One is we want to make sure that you're okay, and if some of those indices are too high, we'll be proactive in contacting you to do something about that. We also repeat that instrument at the end of the program, and that measures change that's occurred over the program period. It's one of the very real reasons, objectively, we know that change occurs. And it occurs in many ways. In health, people report and function much more healthily without the self-destructive elements that can come into these difficult phases. Certainly relationships with children improve, even relationships with exes, minimise problems with legals, and also the financial costs are minimised. We're very much aware that it also creates a proactive and positive community of graduates who finish the program. And that's been a very positive thing to see, how men continue to create friendships and support each other after these programs are completed. The content of the program has evolved and takes you step by step through a process of, I guess, initially shrinking your life down to looking after yourself and helping you in a very supported and highly confidential environment to do that. When that is consolidated, then to examine and to improve the relationship you have with children. As a dad, you're always going to be a dad, so it's important that those relationships go on beyond whatever happens between you and their mother. And then once that is assisted and consolidated, then to look at relationships with others. It's unfortunately the case that men and women, but men often flee into relationships preemptively, and they haven't examined themselves enough to know when they actually are available properly for the next relationship. So it's okay to have friends, but not to jump into a full primary relationship, which can be very difficult for the parties and also for children involved. The men who facilitate these programs have been chosen and trained to maximise your experience in a positive way. These periods of life are extremely difficult, and very few people can do them properly without positive and structured assistance. There are rules which relate to how these programs are run, how they're administered, how they're reported, and they're based on a set of mutual respect and confidentiality guidelines which are made very explicit, and you'll be required, as will the facilitator, to sign a couple of contracts that support that process. We're very keen to encourage open, honest dialogue around what you are going to be, what you are experiencing and what you experience along the way, and to listen to what others are also experiencing. One of the findings, of course, is that you will feel less alien and alienated from friends and family, and will develop pro-social connections with people who are trying to improve their life. This online program has elements that enable you to log into the materials and to do your exercises, and also for the facilitator to be aware of what you're doing and where you're up to. There's program elements that will require minimal involvement in that homework process in order for you to get the best benefit out of the program.